presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are St. Louis.
This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. An absolutely gorgeous day here in the Gateway City. We're at Busch Stadium. The homestand comes to a close. The Cardinals trying to earn a split. It's the Arizona Diamondbacks and the St. Louis Cardinals on Fox Sports Midwest. Jim Hayes is here. That's Rick Horton. I'm Dan McLaughlin, and welcome to St. Louis Cardinals baseball. Lance Lynn gets the call for St. Louis. Taijuan Walker for the Diamondbacks. Lynn's last four have been very, very good.
And he's been getting outs in a different way. Lance Lynn can be a strikeout pitcher, but his last few games, he's gotten ground balls. The hard contact percentage is down. The ground ball percentage is up. His strikeouts down, but he's been pitching well. Last four outings, he should have won 2 more games. He should have 10 victories on the season. And Lance is doing this, Dan, amidst all the conversation about Lance Lynn throughout baseball.
What do you watch for if you know Lance Lynn's going to have a good day?
Well, throwing strikes and not coming off and not moving towards the first base side, staying right with his delivery to the plate. He's been really good most of the season. And Lance Lynn, I expect him to be good again today at the trading deadline.
Hall of Fame Day around the great game of baseball. Tim Brains, Jeff Bagwell. Just some of the names going into the Hall. Pudge Rodriguez as well. Baseball is coming up. day for baseball here in St. Louis. A celebration in Cooperstown. Jeff Bagwell, Tim Raines, Pudge Rodriguez all going into the hall. The T-Mobile Unlimited Baseball break. Raines, Bagwell, Rodriguez all being inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame today.
Interesting. All players really were good for different reasons. Tim Raines for his legs, Bagwell the power, and Rodriguez the defense. And when you think about Tim Raines, you think about stolen bases. He had 808 in his career. He ranks 5th in Major League history. Plenty of times Tim Raines could win a game with his legs. Bagwell won games with power, 297 career average, 38 home runs in his career against the Cardinals. Great rivalry between the Astros and St. Louis. Pudge Rodriguez, he's the catcher, he's the defensive guy. Caught stealing percentage 45% plus, but he also could swing the bat.
This guy can swing the bat as well. That is Jed Jerko. He's in the lineup today. So is Paul DeYoung. And we've got baseball coming up on Fox Sports Midwest. Bud Light, famous among friends. By Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest lasting, full-size pickups on the road. Find yours at your local Mid-America Chevy dealer. And by Menards, save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. An absolutely gorgeous day here in St. Louis. And will this be the final time that we see Lance Lynn take the mound wearing a Cardinal uniform? As rumors are circulating around Major League Baseball, the trade deadline just about here. A free agent to be, and number 31 grabs the baseball here on this Sunday afternoon.
I've really been impressed with the way Lance has not been focused on that. He's just been focused on pitching. And Mike Matheny would obviously love his team to rebound from a tough loss here yesterday and win the season series against the Diamondbacks, which now is tied at 4-4.
Start number 22 for Lance Lynn, coming off of Tommy John surgery. David Peralta will lead it off. Peralta, the former pitcher in the Cardinals minor league system, hitting .307. With 10 home runs, he's driven in 34. Then it's Owings, Lamb, Goldschmidt, Martinez, Marte, Iannetta, Blanco, the former Giant, and Taijuan Walker. Peralta in the leadoff spot, this being the 8th time that he's done that this year. And a fly ball lifted out to left. Jose Martinez under it, makes the catch.
And when you think about Lance Lynn, you think a lot of fastballs. Our Hyundai pitch arsenal The slider, curve, and change used not very often, but it's all fastballs. And as we mentioned in the open, a lot of sinking fastballs the last 2 games, many ground balls in the infield. And that's going to keep the pitch count low for Lance Lynn, which at times can be an issue. He can get into that 90, 100 pitches through 5, and then you've got a decision to make on how far you go with him.
Chris Owings, the second baseman for Arizona. 269, 12 home runs, driven in 51. Those are career highs in homers and RBIs. You've talked about it a lot. You've been there at the trade deadline. What goes through a player's mind, their family's minds. You know, it's a touchy situation for many of these players.
Mentioned briefly yesterday that I had a long conversation with Randal Grichuk's parents, who are just really so supportive, and they love being at games. We see them on the road a lot, and they have the reality of thinking, well, Randal could be traded, his buddies could. I mean, you just don't know. And tomorrow is the deadline, and I'm not suggesting that something is going on with Randal, but you know, you've got real life to think about, and you're trying to stay together as a team, but the trading deadline gets you a little bit antsy.
3-1 the count. Diamondbacks took game 3 last night. They're now 60-44. And the Cardinals 2 games below the 500 mark. DeYoung with the catch to his left.
This is not exactly hard contact, line drive, but not hit hard enough that DeYoung can't outrun it.
The Cardinals defense around the horn, presented by Dobbs. Martinez, Bader, and Grichuk in the outfield. Jerko, DeYoung, Wong, and Carpenter on the infield. And Yadier Molina is behind the plate. There's Jake Lamb, who is driven in 80, second most in the National League. He's 9 back of the league leader, Nolan Arenado. Lamb has also walked in 6 straight.
Seems like, Dan, the Cardinals infield took about 90 games to get settled. Jerko's your third baseman. DeYoung's your shortstop. Wong's your second baseman. Carpenter's your first baseman.
Base hit into left.
And I think we've seen better defense after those guys have settled into and earned those positions.
There's also a rhythm to it, too.
Right.
That base hit extends the inning to Paul Goldschmidt, riding a 6-game hitting streak. He's 10 for his last 18, and he's homering in this series. 5 for 9 with a home run, and he's driven in 3. The 2-out base hit by Lamb. Goldschmidt, ground ball hit to DeYoung. Underhands to Colton Wong. No damage done. And the Cardinals coming up in the home half of the first. No score in a beautiful afternoon. Berkman being recognized on the video board here. He'll be the guest speaker, the featured speaker. Christian Day at the ballpark. We hope to visit with him in the third inning here in the broadcast booth at Busch Stadium. It's Carpenter, Bader, and DeYoung, then Jerko, Molina, Martinez, Wong, Grichuk, and Lynn.
Interesting with Bader in that second spot. We've seen a lot of speed from him, but we haven't seen it necessarily transfer into stolen bases yet. And we'll see how he handles that number 2 spot.
Taijuan Walker gets the call today for the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Hyundai pitch arsenal
has a really good split finger, and the fastball used 60% of the time. The Cardinals saw him in Arizona. He went 6 in the third innings. He walked 5 guys in that game, and a career high of 6 in his career, but 5 in that game, and didn't have a strikeout against the Cardinals. So an odd outing for him. He gave up 3 earned runs and a no decision.
He was thought of as one of the top pitching prospects a few years ago in all of baseball with Seattle. A 24-year-old from Shreveport, Louisiana. And a strike to Carpenter, riding a 5-game hitting streak. A couple of ground rule doubles last night. Three defenders on the right side of the infield. And the 0-1. Walker was the 43rd overall pick in 2010 by the Mariners. Acquired by the Diamondbacks in the offseason with Ketel Marte, their switch hitting shortstop for Gene Segura. And Segura's had a fine year with Seattle. 1-2 the count.
I think that's a case of a trade working out for both teams. Segura, it was a missing piece for the Mariners, and the D-backs were trying to up their rotation, and that has certainly paid dividends for them. Their rotation's good.
2-2. I'm not sure you could draw up a better couple of days here in St. Louis weather-wise. The end of July. This is gorgeous. 2-2 pitch. Taken high.
We've seen the flip side, haven't we?
Oh yeah, a couple of weeks ago, blistering hot here in town. Little breeze here at the ballpark, cool temperatures, and a strikeout of Matt Carpenter. Around the horn, presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Peralta, Blanco, and Martinez in the outfield. Lamb, Marte, Owings, Goldschmidt on the infield. Iannetta is behind the plate. So a strikeout for Walker to start his afternoon. And it brings in Harrison Bader. Between Memphis and St. Louis, he is not hit in the 2 spot of the lineup. Gets the chance today. He has 6 hits. 4 of the 6 have been infield hits. Turns on that pitch. Yanks it foul. 1 ball and 1 strike. Another rookie on deck in Paul DeYoung. Here's a 1-1. You mentioned how guys are settling in defensively, playing every day. Just think about where this lineup was and is today from opening day.
Well, the 2 rookies you're talking about, 2 and 3 back to back in key spots in the lineup, Bader and DeYoung. And they were both in AAA at the start of the season, and you weren't really expecting to see either one of them by this point. You look up and down the Cardinals lineup, and there's some young players besides them. Randal Grichuk's only 25. Colton Wong's still young.
It's a young man's game.
It sure is.
3-2 the count. Bader made his major league debut, scored the game-winning run, a walk-off win. 3-2 pitch.
We talked a little yesterday about Zach Greinke throwing the split finger as his changeup and throwing it harder, not having the normal separation of 8 to 9 miles an hour on your changeup to your fastball. You can say the same thing about Taijuan Walker. He throws his changeup as a split and he throws it hard, averaging about 88, 89 miles an hour.
3-2 on a hop to short. Marte, good arm, and gets Bader by a step. 2 outs, and it brings in DeYoung.
And they're talking about throwing it hard with the split grip, and the idea is the harder you throw it, the more it's going to drop. Now that one was pretty flat, didn't really sink much. And the problem with throwing it and not taking enough speed off of it, if it doesn't move, then it's very hittable. But you want to get that little tumbling action on a split where it goes in the middle of the plate and then straight down.
Cardinals all-time rookie ranks in the month of July. First in home runs, second in extra base hits, game-winning RBI. Been fun to watch. I think often overlooked with his power has been, for the most part, steady defense. And the Cardinals needed that. The 2-0. It's been a quick rise through the minor league system. Played at Illinois State, redshirted even 1 year. And was playing second base, third base, and now an everyday shortstop in the big leagues.
And still learning to play shortstop.
And it's a 2-out walk.
But he's learning quickly.
Brings in Jed Jerko, who is 3 hits shy of 500 for his career. So 2 outs and a runner at first. And that's ball 1. It was about this time last year that Jed Jerko started playing every day. And then he went on a tear after the All-Star break of 2016. Off the end of the bat, and that will roll foul. And the point of that is, you know, he's playing every day where he had not done that in his career. And you just think about the grind of a season and trying to get through it. And Jed's trying to do that now.
What I also remember about last year is there were a lot of balls that didn't get out of the ballpark early in the season. The ball wasn't carrying well here at Busch Stadium. And we don't really 100% know why, but the second half it was.
Slowly hit, third baseman Lamb with the play. Cardinals strand a runner. We head to inning number 2, and there's no score here at Busch Stadium. the trade deadline. With more on that, let's check in with Jimmy.
Yeah, you guys were talking about it the last game before the trade deadline. A number of Cardinal names sort of attached to trade speculation. I asked Mike Matheny before the game if he talked to any of his players who were possibly facing uncertainty. He told me, when I see guys where it could be getting in the way, or I hear they might be distracted, yes. Lance Lynn clearly not one of those guys. His 0.71 ERA over his last 4 starts, pretty good indicator of that. Matheny told me it shows Lance's toughness, that he's able to put it aside and go out and do what he needs to do. Dan, Lynn is a guy who pitches with kind of a chip on his shoulder anyway, perhaps more so in recent weeks.
Well, the numbers bear it out, as you say, and he's been very good this year.
I love that thought, that conversation that Jim had with Mike, because you're thinking about asking a manager, do you go to a player who's not worried about something and tell them they shouldn't be worried about something? I mean, you've got to at some point say, look, he's handling it, so there's no sense in me putting a thought in his head. I mean, Lance has been around the block. Lance understands what's happening, and he also understands that if he pitches well, his value's better wherever he ends up. I, for one, would like to see him end up in St. Louis, but I don't get a vote.
I would second that.
I like him. I think he's a horse. I think he goes out there every 5th day, and I think he's a valuable part of this team.
The question from the Cardinals' perspective is this. He's probably going to command, let's say in the open market, $15 to $18 million a year. And that's a fly ball lifted into right. In the corner, Grichuk, and out of play.
So you're asking me how much do I like him?
Well, you look at it from the Cardinals' perspective. You've got Reyes coming back off of Tommy John. You got Jack Flaherty knocking on the door here of Major League Baseball. You've seen Luke Weaver, so there are options. The question the Cardinals have to ask themselves, are they better served using that money in a different area? It's business.
Very logical. And you mentioned Flaherty. I also would say Dakota Hudson, who was sent from AA to AAA. He's flying through the minor leagues. College pitcher who is very impressive. We saw him in spring training, Dan. Power sinker. And I think he'll be here before we know it.
Sure. 2-2 the count. He's been around the block, as Rick said, and put an exclamation point on that. He knows what's going on.
Yes.
The 2-2. Martinez stays alive. He's got 6 hits since he's been acquired. 5 of the 6 have been home runs. He's driven in 11 already in under a week with Arizona.
He's still getting to know his teammates. That's one way to get to know him. Get the high fives after hitting a home run.
Here's a 2-2. Missed in. Missouri Lottery Fox Tracks.
Trying to catch that inside corner. He's been jamming him in this at bat. A lot of inside out swings from Martinez. See if he stays in.
3-2. And he does, and misses in. So leadoff walk. Ranked since 2000 for Lance Lynn. This guy's been very good. Often overlooked the conversation of top pitchers wearing a Cardinal uniform. Not bad at all. Start number 150 here today. He's the 34th Cardinal to make 150 starts. The average against him is 243. That's better than Carlton, Dizzy Dean, Bob Forsch. So it really puts in perspective that he's been a very good pitcher. There's a 9-pitch at bat by Martinez. He picked up the walk, and he threw a total of 9 pitches in the first inning to get 3 outs.
I think Lance has found himself as a pitcher over the last couple of years. He knows who he is. When he came up, he was a reliever. He threw really hard. He still can throw hard, but he was a 95-plus guy out of the pen, and the thought then was, is he a reliever or is he a starter? And he could have said yes, probably either way, but Cardinals needed him to start, and he, again, has been durable. Doesn't give up a lot of hits.
Here's a 2-0. Into the gap in right center, and that ball is down. One hops off the wall. Martinez racing to third. They'll wave him in. And then held up late. Lynn backing up home plate. Good job on the relay, Bader, Wong. And it's runners at second and third and nobody out.
I'm not sure why Marte was put into the lineup yesterday, but he's been doing nothing but hitting since that happened. Got some pop in his bat from both the left side and the right side.
Remember last night he put one into the upper deck here at the ballpark. Pulled it foul, but it did give you an indication of his power, and he homered. There's Chris Iannetta, so 7, 8, and 9 in the lineup now for Lance Lynn. 19 of the last 23 hits for Iannetta have gone for extra bases. There's ball one. Lynn has seen Arizona, including today, 9 career starts, and he's 4-0. He hasn't lost against them. And the 1-0. Out to center. Bader with the catch. And wisely that throw going to third, but he airmailed it. Run scores, and that makes it 1-0 Arizona.
Well, I agree that the wisdom was there. The execution wasn't. He's thrown to the right base. He's got no chance of throwing out Martinez at the plate. And so the throw comes to third, but he airmails it, as you said, over the cutoff man. He's trying to throw it all the way to the bag, and he threw it all the way to the dugout. Mentioned yesterday he was out early working on that particular throw for a long time with Mike Schilt and Ollie Marmol, and making sure and the throws weren't like that, by the way, yesterday. He just made a bad throw. Simple as that.
So 1 out, the infield is drawn in, and a strike to the 8th place hitter Gregor Blanco. Blanco signed originally by the Atlanta Braves in 2008, an undrafted free agent. Been with the Braves, Kansas City, Washington, and a 2-time world champion with San Francisco. We take a look at our Toyota keys to the game. Rick, you were talking about it earlier. Very good fastball of Lance Lynn.
And not very many hits against either Lynn or Walker when it comes to the fastball.
And the 1-1. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
So very different having the runner at third base than at second. You have to bring the infield in. The hitter becomes about 100 points better at the plate with an infield in situation. There's just more holes. Hit the ball hard in the infield, it's probably a hit.
Here's a 1-2. Good play by Yachty to keep that in front.
And you worry about wild pitches and passed balls. So taking that extra base, a big miss for the Cardinals defensively.
2-2 the count. For Blanco, it's his 38th start of the year. Began this season on the DL. Can play all 3 outfield spots. He's in center this afternoon. And the 2-2 in the dirt again. It's Marte at third with good speed. And he missed inside. Second walk this inning by Lynn, and it brings up Taijuan Walker.
I wondered if he would be a little careful with Blanco, who has hit Lance Lynn well, but the pitcher at the plate knows how to swing it too. A 455-foot home run against the Atlanta Braves, and that was his first game back after being on paternity leave. So he's a new dad. Hits a 455-foot home run, and he's in the big leagues. Life is good.
And that's what he said after the game, too.
Right.
I don't know if you saw that.
I did.
He said, yeah, I didn't pitch all that well, but I hit a home run. My son was at the game, just born. Hopefully his eyes were open.
Right.
Good fastball, strike one. Well, you look at Walker, man, he is put together, too. He's a former basketball player. Did not start playing baseball until he was 11. Oh, 0-2. He's 7 for 32 this year. That's a .219 average. Outfield very shallow. And the 0-2. Struck him out. First strikeout for Lynn.
I wonder if the D-backs considered doing one of the safety squeeze bunts in that situation. When you let the pitcher swing, you have the danger of the double play, number one. And if you get the bunt down, you at least get the guy to second base, so you'll get something positive from it. But with the Cardinals being back at the corners, if Walker got the bunt down with Marte the runner at third,
I was shocked.
Of course, Walker does not have a lot of experience hitting. You just wonder what kind of bunter he is.
No sacrifices this year. And now it's David Peralta, was swinging on the first pitch. As he flied to left. He's got very good numbers against Lynn. Now 5 for 11. Home run, couple of RBIs. The series in Arizona hit a home run off of Lynn. Good pitch. 1-1.
Torey Lovullo is an outstanding manager. His first year managing the D-backs, and the idea is not questioning whether he did the right thing or not. I'm just curious what the tipping point is, because there's always one. Situationally, you're going to go with the situation as well as all the variables involved, and you're going to make the best decision you can. I'd just be really curious to talk to Torey about what tipped him to not bunt with Walker.
Especially, as you mentioned, with the corners back. You know, you're at least going to get that man from second, or rather from first to second, and have a chance to score Marte.
Lance Lynn's not going to jump off the mound like, say, a Matt Bowman would or a Mike Leake. He's a little slower getting to the ball. Another factor.
The 2-1. 3 balls and 1 strike. The Diamondbacks outfielders very productive since the All-Star break. 14 doubles, 10 home runs. Good pitch in on his hands. They're in the top of the third. Chicago and Milwaukee. Lackey against Davies, and there's no score. The Cardinals starting play today. 4.5 back of Chicago. The Brewers a game and a half out. Runner from first off with his pitch, 2 outs, full count, and with that, Carpenter plays back. And the 3-2, he walked him. 3 walks in the inning for Lynn. MLB.com at bat, your #1 mobile app for live Cardinals baseball. Stay connected with a fully customizable experience. Get Cardinals home screen icons, app features, as well as game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcast, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat today.
Derek Lilliquist out to talk to Lance Lynn just to steady him a bit. 3 walks, unusual for Lance.
Previous 3 starts combined, he had a total of 3 walks and 3 alone in this inning.
Dan, you mentioned the standings, and just a comment on that. The Cardinals have been trying to get to that 500 mark, and Mike Matheny was asked before the game, and he said, you know, I don't really think about standings much. I just think about playing good baseball day in and day out, and then the standings take care of themselves. But he did admit that from the team's point of view, if you get to 500, there's an emotional lift if you get within a couple of games.
Pitch up and in, bases loaded, 2 outs, Owing showing bunt. May have saved his face here. Wow.
And that hit his hand. That
Sure
didn't even hit the bat. Wow. Well, he's trying to bunt for a base hit. He's got Jerko back, and he just believes he can outrun the ball to first base.
Let's listen to that previous pitch. 92 on the gun. Second place hitter this early in the game with the bases loaded and bunting.
Well, I think Owings is just feeling like he's got a better than average chance if he gets it down to beating it out. He runs really well, but running well is not helping him right now because I'm not sure he's got very much feeling in that hand that was on the bat. We may see Descalso here. There's some arguments going on. I think they're questioning whether or not that ball hit him or whether he bunted or not. But the deal is, you swing at a pitch and it hits you, it's a strike. You bunt at a pitch and it hits you, it's a strike. And he clearly was bunting at it. He has not taken the bat back yet, and it just hits him. But again, it's a strike because you're bunting at it.
And Sam Holbrook is the crew chief. I believe that's Ron Gardenhire, the bench coach, that's giving him an earful. Former Minnesota Twin manager. There he is. You could hear Sam yelling, "That's enough."
And a little more calm Dave McKay is playing mediator. Gardy can get hot occasionally.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love him too. I love being around him. He's claiming, and to anybody who will listen there in the dugout, that he believed that he was pulling the bat back, but in my mind he was bunting at that ball.
So Descalso has to come off the bench. Enters the ball game with the bases loaded and a count of no balls and 1 strike. Lynn did have the opportunity to at least throw a few pitches. His play stopped. Three walks in the inning and a double by Marte. A 1-0 Arizona lead.
So Daniel Descalso's minding his own business, rooting for his team on the bench, and a few seconds later he's at the plate with the bases loaded in what could be a key part of this game.
Sure.
Even though it's early.
Here's the 0-1. What could be like Zach Greinke last night, where it was 3 consecutive hits. Then he got locked in as the game went on. Same could happen with Lynn.
Thinking the exact same thing, Danny. Are you in my head again?
No, sir.
Get out of there.
Want no part of it.
Bring a flashlight.
Well, you mentioned something earlier that was interesting, how Lynn sometimes will pull off towards the first base.
And he's doing it.
Yeah. Open it up a little bit.
Yep. I mean, what happens is his arm drops. His arm drops just a little bbit, and balls missed high to the arm side, high and away to a left-handed batter, up and in on right-handers.
The 2-1. 2-2. Opponents have just 1 hit with the bases loaded this year against Lance Lynn. 2-2 the count with 2 outs and the bases loaded. Well, he's fighting it. You can just tell by some of the reactions he has after these pitches.
He is. The frustration is there. He wants to go straight to the plate, elbow above his shoulder, and not fall off to the first base side very much. He's just a hair off.
Big pitch early on. And the 3-2. Ripped foul. He was ready for the fastball. These two teammates on the championship club of 2011. Daniel Descalso, a finalist for the Gold Glove Award that year at third base. And as Rick mentioned, Lance Lynn working out of the bullpen at that point in his career. Pitch number 45 already. Here it comes. He walked him. It's 4 walks. I think maybe a little bit of concern for the Cardinals and Mike Matheny today is the fact that they've had a couple of games where they've had to go deep into their bullpen. Now, you do have the off day tomorrow.
What happens when you spin a bit and you stay closed a little bit too long is you end up spinning with the top part of your body, and your arm drops and your body is in front of your arm and your arm's trying to catch up and it doesn't get there. And that's what, when your arm drags, you miss high into the arm side. And that's what we're seeing with Lance Lynn. He's not trying to hit the outside corner there. He just can't get it to the inside corner against lefties.
So 2 outs, bases loaded. Now Jake Lamb. And the Cardinals get a right-hander, I believe, up. I'm not sure. Nope, that's a lefty. That's Tyler Lyons. Pitched in the ball game last night. Here's the 0-1. Popped up. Jerko, foul territory, and makes the catch.
Could have
4
been worse.
walks in the inning. Regroup, go get them. 2-0 our score. At Cooperstown, Tim Raines, and comparing him to the great Lou Brock.
Well, we had the great news on Lou Brock yesterday that he's cancer-free, and so excited to hear that, and so iconic as a Cardinal player. But you'd think about the Expos franchise and just what Tim Raines, Andre Dawson meant to that franchise.
I wonder if there's going to be some fans when Bud Selig goes in today that would boo him because they're there for Tim Raines and Montreal fans. Remember, he was the commissioner at the time when Montreal left town. Something to think about.
Could happen.
808 stolen bases, 5th in Major League history. And the 4 players to rank above him: Rickey Henderson, Lou Brock, 19th century star Billy Hamilton, not the Cincinnati Red, and Ty Cobb, and all are in the Hall of Fame. It took a long time for Tim Raines to get in.
The one induction ceremony that I was privileged to be able to attend, there's that foul ball off the mask of Iannetta. Seems to be fine. But Andre Dawson was inducted because that was the year Whitey went in. And it was just, Dawson's speech was wonderful. Whitey's was very Whitey-like, which of course was entertaining. And it is just such a, if you like baseball, it's la-la land for baseball, being in Cooperstown. It was really an outstanding experience. I loved it.
Tim Raines had 68 steals in his career against the Cardinals. And again off the mask of Iannetta. Ironically enough, his first career stolen base was in September of 1979. And you guessed it, against the Cardinals.
Iannetta telling Yachty to cut it out.
Yachty's been there, done that.
Oh, yeah.
Two and two the count. And a good fastball, and the second strikeout for Taijuan Walker. Mentioned that Walker began playing baseball at the age of 11. Terrific athlete. Raised in a single parent home by his mom. And Walker's exposure to scouts very limited because his mother couldn't afford to spend money on traveling teams, which is where a lot of these players are found now. So throwing a baseball was very easy for him. By his senior year in high school, he was hitting 96 on the gun. And even with that great velocity, the Dodgers told Walker they were going to draft him, and if they got there, they were going to make him an outfielder and not a pitcher. And then the Mariners selected him as that pitcher and 43rd overall in 2010. So Taijuan Walker throwing hard. What about John Stuper?
Well, I watched him throw this first pitch today. John Stuper, former Cardinal, and he asked me if we had the gun on it. He's thrown it to Matt Bowman. By the way, Stuper coaches at Yale, and Bowman played at Princeton, so they're probably talking some high-level stuff there in that conversation. But I told Stuper he threw at 47 miles an hour, and he said he thought I was being a little generous. But Stuper won Game 6, Dan, of the 1982 World Series. He threw a complete game, a 13-1 Cardinal victory, and we know how Game 7 worked out. Bruce Sutter throwing the last pitch. He was here yesterday, and Stuper here today.
Memory serves correct. Game 6 had stoppages in play.
Yes.
That was nearly 3 hours because of the rain delays. So imagine going a full game with that type of delay. That's tough to do.
Very much so. And he was a rookie at the time. Dave LaPointe and Stuper, both rookies in the rotation. Coming out party for Willie McGee in his professional career. He just was outstanding in that series.
Stuper, I think, had the career high 13 wins the next year, 1983.
"25 years coaching at Yale. He was a Cardinal minor league coach before he got the Yale job.
2-2, hit up the middle, and a base hit for Jose Martinez. Friday, August 11th, kicks off the 1987 National League Championship Anniversary Weekend presented by Heartland Coca-Cola. And that day, 30,000 fans 16 and older receive an adult replica 1987 mystery jersey. Cardinals.com/promotions. One out single, and it brings in Colt Wong, who's 0 for his last 12. And Wong sends a fly ball out to center. Blanco back for it, makes the catch. There's Randal Grichuk, who's hit safely in 8 of his last 9 games. I think one of the legacies of the aforementioned Bud Selig is trying to get more African Americans involved in the game of baseball through the RBI program, different initiatives, and that's something that Taijuan Walker has made a point of emphasis in his career, trying to give back to inner city communities. That's fouled back. Walker had a chance to play basketball both collegiately and pro as a 17-year-old overseas. He says he wants to be an inspiration for African American kids to play baseball.
And for those who are saying 100% agree with that direction and are in the Cardinal area and want to get involved in that, if you contact Cardinals Care and let them know that you're hoping to support the RBI program here in St. Louis, they'll find a way for you to contribute. Michael Hall and Cardinal Care, they just do a great job helping out a lot of youth organizations in the St. Louis area, but the RBI program is very special and very important.
Redbird rookies also very important, put on by Cardinals Care. And right down the middle, and a strikeout of Randal Grichuk. It's Christian Day here at the ballpark. The featured speaker, Lance Berkman. The 2011 Division Series, and a long one for Berkman, one of the great switch hitters ever in the game of baseball. Makers, the Killer Bees, Biggio, Bagwell, and Berkman. So many years with Houston. 2 of the 3 are in the Hall of Fame. 1 going in today, and 1 may still go in, and that's Lance Berkman, who is our featured speaker at Christian Day the ballpark. Always great to see you. How are you?
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Let's start with your former teammate going into the Hall of Fame. What's it mean to see Jeff Bagwell go in?
Well, you know, Jeff obviously is one of the icons of the Astro franchise along with Craig Biggio, and I think it's much deserved. I think it's, you know, he had to wait a little bit longer than probably we all thought he should have, but no doubt a Hall of Famer in my opinion, and you know, I'm glad to see him get in. I know he's excited about it, and you know, just very happy for him.
You spent a couple years in St. Louis, but it feels like you were a Cardinal forever. Do you feel that way?
It does, no doubt. The way this organization and this city has embraced me is just very special, and I love getting a chance to come back up here.
When you come back, what kind of memories come back from Lance Berkman?
I mean, I just remember the great run we had in 2011 and all the guys on that team. Probably my favorite team I ever played on, just from a personnel standpoint, and then the fact that we ended up winning the World Series, and on top of that, the dramatic fashion that we won it in. It's just a highlight of my career.
Is it shocking still when you look back and think about how you guys won that?
Well, you know, in some ways it is, but if you look at the makeup of that team, heck, I mean, I thought we had the best team in baseball, and you know, certainly our middle of the order could hit with anybody, with Albert and Matt Holliday and myself there in the middle, and then you know, our pitching staff was very solid, and we had a good bullpen. So, you know, in some ways it was surprising just because we had to come from so far back, but I thought we had the best team in baseball that year.
That was unbelievable. The comeback of game number 6. You already had a 2-run homer. You had scored 4 runs that night. Take me through that at bat. You're down to your final strike.
Yeah, well, I always tell kids, you know, when you're in the backyard and you're dreaming about bottom of the 9th, 2 outs, and you're up, you know, you don't want any part of that situation if you can help it. But that seems like what everybody goes to. But you know, it's nerve-wracking, but you have to clear your mind. You have to focus. And I remember, you know, since it's Christian Day today at the ballpark, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that I'd prayed specifically for a situation like that I would be calm and be able to focus and be able to compete to the best of my ability, and that's exactly what happened. I felt like when I went up there, just had a very good sense of peace and calm, and it was a great competition.
Yeah, you had told me that things slowed down in that at bat. I don't know how, but it did, as DeYoung shows off the arm, but not in time, and the base hit by JD Martinez. Were you able to slow things down a little bit?
Well, I think, you know, my experience to that point was very beneficial. You know, it was late in my career, and I'd been in a lot of big spots, and so you kind of learn how to control your emotion. You learn how to slow the game down, because the tendency is to let the adrenaline take over, and you know, you're swinging before the guy, you know, before the ball gets out of the pitcher's hand, and that's no good. So I tell people sometimes I feel like my entire life was preparation for that at bat.
Is that right?
My entire baseball life, and just used all the, you know, the experience that I'd gained to that point, and again, I think some divine intervention to be able to stay calm and just to focus on the baseball.
Lance Berkman, our guest, popped up, shallow right, off the bat of Marte. We were looking up some of the numbers among switch hitters, and I think you're close to being a Hall of Famer, if not in the Hall of Fame. Among switch hitters, 5th in home runs, 14th in RBIs, tied for 13th in batting average at .294. Do you think at all about the Hall of Fame?
I mean, you know, I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't think about it, but I don't know that, you know, that I had the career longevity that it would have taken to compile some numbers. You didn't get to 2,000 hits, didn't get to 400 home runs, and for a guy that played a corner position for most of my career, I think it's going to be hard to convince voters that is a Hall of Fame worthy career. You know, I think in my prime I could hit with anybody in that building, but may not have amassed the career statistics from a counting statistics standpoint. I think, you know, if the sabermetrics continue to take over the game, they start looking at things like OPS and that sort of thing, that I would have a real shot. But I'm not holding my breath on that.
What keeps you busy these days?
I've been coaching high school baseball.
High school baseball.
Yeah, I went back and got my degree from Rice.
What'd you
right
get
after in kinesiology.
Okay.
And so I told him, I said, when I went back, whatever I'm the closest to getting in hours-wise, that's what I'm going to major in, and so that was it. But I finished that, and the last couple of years I've been coaching high school baseball at the school where my daughters go to school, and keeping up with them. So it's been great.
Is it good to be retired, or do you miss the game?
Well, I mean, it is good to be retired from professional baseball, because I certainly don't miss the grind of having to perform every day and the travel. And I'm able to stay close to the game by coaching, and that's something that really sort of embraced as a second career and passionate about it, and just love being able to teach baseball, but also to teach life through the game of baseball to my players.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Are you the head coach?
I am, yeah, and my pitching coach is Andy Pettit, so we have a pretty good staff.
You kidding me?
No. Yeah, we've had a lot of fun, and we had some success. We won the state championship in our first year, and then last year we got beat in the state semifinal game. So we got a good team coming back next year. So we'll see how it goes.
Great to have you back.
All right.
Once a Cardinal, always a Cardinal. Lance Berkman, great to have him back here in St. Louis. Thank you. ...1987 National League Championship team, and you can pick up the replica ring. That's coming up. Always popular, Saturday, August 12th. And also get Topps baseball cards. Cardinals.com/promotions. Wonderful to have Lance Berkman back in St. Louis. He mentioned, you know, for a while there I felt like I'd hit with just about anybody. Well, if you look at his slash line in 2001 and 06, 300 average, on base percentage 400 plus, slugging 600 plus. Among switch hitters, only Mickey Mantle and Chipper Jones did that. But think about that. You know, when you start making a case for guys being Hall of Famers, what was unique about Berkman, and he did give the stats, you know, they don't really size up with others, but he did it as a switch hitter, which is something that you have to keep in mind.
Think about the game's great switch hitters. I think of Eddie Murray, too. A guy who is in the Hall of Fame. And you also think of Lance Lynn, who's now batting left-handed.
Sure. Hall of Famer.
I guess he wouldn't call himself a switch hitter. He just totally bagged right-handed, didn't he? Just, I'm done.
Well, you would, too, if he had launch angle like he does.
Good point.
Walker has struck out 4. Well, if you're at the UMB Champions Club and we're piped in there and you're listening to us, go ahead and find Dante Wade, the manager of the club. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday to Dante Wade.
Is it really?
Yep. One of our favorites.
I got to text him right now.
Here's Carpenter, who struck out back in the first inning. When you think about that lineup that Houston had, compare it to the Cardinals and the greatness on the field on both sides for so many years with Biggio, Bagwell, Berkman, Cardinals, Edmonds, Pujols, Yachty. I mean, that was some talent. It was a great rivalry. Respectful.
Yeah, I would say as respectful a rivalry as I remember in the last 10 to 20 years. I mean, there's no animosity. There's no, you think about some of the Cardinal Red rivalry. Think of Dusty Baker and Tony La Russa and just the fights, etc. And of course the Cubs, can get a little antsy at times, but the Astros rivalry was never like that.
No. Harrison Bader grounded out first time up.
Here's what we've seen from Bader in the early going. He can rip the fastball. That's his first big league hit. That's on a fastball. This fastball he takes up the middle. And the Diamondbacks are trying the off-speed pitches on him. And of course, Zach Greinke's not your just average pitcher. He's a Cy Young guy, and he threw curveball and slider to get Bader, and that's the adjustment he's going to have to make to be able to hit the off-speed pitch as well.
So 1 out and a runner at first, and Bader takes a pitch high. You also have to figure in to that rivalry the pitching. Chris Carpenter, Roger Clemens, the aforementioned Andy Pettitte, Billy Wagner,
Oswald.
Jason Isringhausen, Oswald, Dotel in his prime. I mean, it was some great baseball back and forth with Houston and St. Louis. Yeah, Dusty, that rivalry carried over to Cincinnati, and they got better. 09, 10, 11, those years. Brandon Phillips, Yadier Molina, the confrontation at the plate. Jeff Suppan crawling through legs in the middle of the melee. Still my favorite part of that. This massive humanity, and there's Soup. It's scoreless, the Cubs and Brewers. The Brewers are now 0 for their last 31 with runners in scoring position. Bader with a fly ball into left. Catch made. And back to the bag at first goes Carpenter. Wild card implications. Colorado top of the 4th, 7-4 lead over Washington. Ryan Zimmerman with his 23rd home run in that game. Reds over the Marlins 2-0 in the top of the 7th. Pittsburgh and San Diego a little later this afternoon. One thing I always felt about Lance Berkman when he got to St. Louis, it was like he had been here for 10 years.
Yeah.
He fit right in.
Well, he fit right in and became a leader right away. And I don't mean a leader, he's not necessarily a rah-rah guy, but he'll speak his mind. And I think players just gravitated towards him.
Two balls and a strike. I think it's also wonderful that you know what, Lance is welcome back here anytime. You know, brief time in St. Louis, but a big part of recent history. Not all teams do what the Cardinals do. And a high fly ball pulled foul. Not many teams have the history the Cardinals have.
Well, they have the history, but they also remember it and stay with it. And we're having a Tom Lawless bobblehead night soon, and everybody remembers his hit in. Cardinal fans, many at least, remember his home run in the '87 World Series, and that's just part of Cardinal baseball now. And not just the big names, not the guys that were here for decades performing like Brock and Gibson, not just them, Shane Dienst. But if you're a part of Cardinal history, you're a part of the story.
sitting this one out for the time being. More on Tommy. Let's check in with Jim.
Yeah, Dan, Tommy just getting a day. He's played so well. He hates coming out of the lineup, but even Tommy admitted if he has to sit today is a pretty good day for it. I asked Tommy about the team's recent play, and he told me the inconsistency is what gets him frustrated. I asked how frustrated. Dan, he told me this: I think I'm going to have a stroke at an early age with all of this. I'm serious. I want to win. And you watch Tommy Pham play, it looks that way, Danny.
We mentioned the other night too, thanks Jim, is that he plays with that chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Plays kind of angry. Something to prove, maybe. Has there been a better Cardinal this year than Tommy Pham?
Better, I wouldn't say no. Maybe there's a tied for first. Jerko certainly carried the team in the early going. But you talk about consistency. That's one thing that I've noticed with Tommy Pham is he's had flashes of brilliance. You know, he's been around a while. He's 29. He's not a young guy. He's been in the organization a long time. But he has, because of physical issues, including eyesight, had these flashes, but then gone way in the tank and then come back again. But he's been consistent this year, and it's been fun to watch. He's not backing off a bit.
It's a base hit by Blanco. On base for the second time to go along with a walk. And it brings in Walker in a bunting spot. So maybe we'll get our answer as to why he wasn't bunting and see it here.
There you go.
Puts it on display.
And every manager knows his personnel, knows what they can do and can't do.
Pick off, and they got him. That's
Nobody's
Blanco in
at
the
first.
rundown. Lynn not back to it.
Well, as fundamental as covering first base on a ground ball to the right side is going to first base after a pickoff, because Lance Lynn, you're going to be needed right now, and he just doesn't get there. You pick a guy off, and Lance probably hasn't done that a lot in his career, but the next move is you cover first. You can't be a spectator. That's not Yadi's job. That's Lance Lynn's job.
And Walker gets the bunt down. Ooh, tough play there for Wong and Carpenter. And advancing Blanco to second base. Arcia in the driver's seat on Cardinals catcher Yadier Molina. Highest caught stealing percentage, baseball all time, the Hall of Famer Pudge Rodriguez, and right after that Yadier Molina.
We see Rick Dempsey in Baltimore. He does work for the Orioles on the TV side. Jim Sundberg is a name that you don't talk about very much, you don't hear much about, but he was an unbelievably good catcher.
Now Peralta, the top of the lineup, and it's a ball.
I believe Sundberg was on the '85 Royals team. More noted as a Ranger than a Royal, but an outstanding defensive catcher.
Runner at second, Blanco. Good speed. And the 1-0. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Lance has been on that outside corner. He's just more comfortable outside, and it really was outside. May have called it on the check swing. But Lance having to throw more pitches under stress here in this inning because he didn't cover first.
And he's the kind of guy after the game, if asked about it, he said, yep, made a mistake.
Yep. Oh, no question.
4 walks. Yep, that's on me.
Yep.
It happened in the second inning. Here's a 2-1 pitch.
Well, what you can do as a batter, and you see Lance Lynn every pitch down and away, if you're left-handed, you start cheating out there. Start looking for the ball away. So even if he catches the plate, it may not be with his best pitch. You're eliminating the inside corner.
That's his 5th walk of the afternoon.
I learned that philosophy from Jack Clark. I heard him talk about hitting one day, and another Cardinal great. Fun to watch Jack take batting practice, like watching McGwire take batting practice. But Jack felt that his philosophy of hitting really was, I'm going to eliminate what you can't throw and you show me you can't do. If you can't throw a changeup, I just eliminate it mentally. So now I'm looking for 2 pitches instead of 3. You can't hit the outside corner, eliminating that half of the plate, and you start to zero in on what the pitcher can get you out with, and it makes your job easier.
1-0 the count on Descalso. Bases loaded walk and an RBI back in the 2nd inning. Pitch count at 71. They start to stretch again in the Cardinals' pen. Lyons was up in the 2nd inning. And the 1-0 is popped up. Infield fly. Wong is there and makes the catch. In steps Jake Lamb. A base hit to left back in the 1st, left stranded, and popped out to end the 2nd inning with the bases loaded. The Yankees make a deal today as they traded for Jaime Garcia. After he'd just been dealt to Minnesota. Went 1-0 with Minnesota. Twins now 7 games back in the AL Central. Kansas City 3. Cleveland has won 9 straight. Here's a 1-0. Melky Cabrera has been added to the Kansas City Royals. They made a deal for him this morning. White Sox will pay about half of the $5 million left on that deal. Yankees gave up the number 22 prospect in their system, also a minor league lefty, to get Jaime Garcia. And reports are that they're still in the sweepstakes for Sonny Gray of the Oakland A's. So Garcia would be somewhat of a fallback.
With the clock ticking.
Yep. A lot of times those big deals, it's up to the deadline. Who's got the best deal? Right. Put your chips in.
If I'm Lamb, I'm looking fastball away.
2-2.
And just as I mentioned, with Lynn not really showing that he can get the ball in the inside corner, I'm looking fastball away again. And if he paints me on the inside corner, I tip my cap, walk back to the bench.
The 2-2. Outside corner again, did not go.
Perfect example. Yadi wanted that in, gave the target in, and it was away.
Sometimes do catchers then over accentuate setting up inside?
Right. Yadi tried to frame it as best he could. I think it's smart to have catchers do that when you're for your warm-up tosses especially.
Runners go on the 3-2. And a high fly ball into shallow right. Grichuk makes the catch. And Lamb is 1 for 3. Diamondbacks already through 4. They've stranded 7. Sports Midwest and Cardinals baseball with you wherever you go. I did not realize this until a moment ago. It's a significant date in baseball history, certainly Cardinals history. It's Rick Horton's birthday. Happy birthday, Rick.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Not only that, Tom Pagnozzi's birthday. And Clint Hurdle's birthday.
And Dante Wade. So I would encourage everybody, if you're on Twitter, to go ahead and get at RickyH49 a nice birthday wish.
Very kind of you.
Happy birthday.
Gotten a text back already from Clint during the game. We always text back and forth on our collective birthdays. Tom Pagnozzi. There's a guy we don't mention enough. We have a Gold Glove catcher now. We have a Gold Glove catcher as a manager, and we have a Gold Glove catcher in Tom Pagnozzi in our history.
And a swing and a miss. Strikeout of Jerko on the high fastball. That's 6 for Walker. The State Farm perfect pair. 2-0 our score as we play here the 4th. Pud Rodriguez and Yadier Molina comparing the two.
That's a lot of gold. Ooh.
Yadi struck out first time up, 0 for his last 8. Second on the team with 89 hits. Next hit ties Willie McGee, 12th place all time in Cardinals history in hits. Walker has had to deal with a blister issue. We always talk about mechanics, diets, workouts, shoulders, elbows, but blisters, it's a nasty injury for a pitcher, and the friction of the baseball.
Yeah, and people would say, oh my goodness, a blister, and you're worried about that. Or another thing that happens a lot with pitchers are split nails, especially the guys that throw sliders. You can actually put so much pressure on the inside of your index finger that you split the nail.
Breaks his bat, and it's a base hit. And with that, Molina now 12th all time in Cardinals history in base hits.
Broken bat, found a hole.
Cardinal bench wants that baseball.
But when you think about the blister thing, Dan, it's not a matter of it just being too painful. You just can't physically throw the ball. And Walker's been dealing with that. They threw the ball the wrong way. I don't think the Diamondbacks want that baseball. They threw it out, but they were meaning to throw it to the Cardinal side. And here it comes across the field. And to the Cardinal manager.
One of the pitchers that dealt with blisters a lot, well, Rich Hill now does.
Yes.
And he's been on fire for the Dodgers. Should get a look at Jose Martinez, singled back in the 2nd inning. But Nolan Ryan used a scalpel peeling away skin before every start. He said by the end of his career, not sure they would have had fingerprints for him.
What a specimen he was.
That gets through. Iannetta and Molina to second base. Well, last night and again today, it's been quiet. Cardinals offensively shut down by Greinke after the first inning. Walker at 3 and change in terms of innings already with 6 strikeouts.
Well, it's been quiet, but it can get loud in a hurry. Somehow the D-backs with just 2 runs in this game, and it has not been Lance Lynn's best yet. He's keeping his team in the game.
Walker charged with a wild pitch, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Lynn has allowed 2 earned or less in 15 of his 21 starts this year. That's hammered. Out to deep right. It may carry. Gone! Martinez, opposite field home run. Boy, he jumped on that pitch. And this game is tied at 2.
And it got loud in a hurry. Good power the other way. The cutter in the middle of the plate. Big fly Martinez. And in a game where the Cardinals haven't had much going in any facet, it's now 2-2.
Here's Wong, who flied out to center. Martinez second home run during this home stand. Breaking ball and a strike. And a swing and a miss. There's Randal Grichuk, 2 outs, nobody on. 2-run homer by Martinez, his 7th of the year. RBIs 19 and 20. Already 7 strikeouts for Walker. And because of that, the pitch count is up. It's already at 73.
Isn't that interesting that he didn't have 1 strikeout in his last outing against St. Louis?
Seen a lot of late swings against a good fastball. The start before the last time we saw him, he threw a ton of cutters, and it just goes to show you have to mix it up.
Right.
Can't be a pattern.
We'd like to have that cutter back he threw to Martinez.
103 miles an hour off the bat, 381 feet.
A lot of baseball people are fond of saying a bad cutter is a home run.
3-2. And a strikeout of Grichuk. That's number 8. He strikes out the side here in the 4th inning, but the home run by Jose Martinez. Pitch that was up. Jose knew it. This game is tied. with his home run. The interesting thing about this game today for me is watching Lynn. He doesn't have his best stuff. He's walked 5, and yet you look up, he's in the 5th, and it's 2-2.
Well, just the 4 hits, and despite all the walks, and just found a way to get out of the situation. Him getting Jake Lamb with a couple of runners aboard in the 4th inning, that's a key moment for him. Now he just has to build on that.
Rick, he also got Lamb in the 2nd with the bases loaded to end that threat. Seen a little history today at the ballpark with Molina's base hit to tie Willie McGee. Next in range is Ted Simmons. He's 21 hits behind Ted Simmons.
Trying to get Lynn to get that ball outside, and he does. That's the spot that's been hard for him. To the first base side of home plate.
The 2-1 to Goldschmidt. Arizona a year ago 69 and 93, and now through this point in the season their 2nd best start in franchise history. Last year was the 5th time they had a sub 70 win season.
One thing I'm seeing from Lance Lynn is that he is exaggerating his finish to get the ball across the plate. He's really finishing the pitch, and he's driving the backside of his delivery towards that outside corner on Goldschmidt. Don't leave it over the middle of the plate. Get it out there.
Popped up. Arizona with guys like Goldschmidt, Lamb having terrific years. Runs per game is up. The starters ERA way down. They're in the top 2 in pitching in terms of ERA in baseball. Pretty good combination. More runs, not giving up as many, more wins. 3-2. Goldschmidt with a fly ball into shallow right near the line. Randal Grichuk, and he makes the catch. J.D. Martinez and the Kubota Power Stats. With the D-backs slugger in the middle of their lineup. Already with 5 home runs, and that's a look since July 19th when he was acquired. Conforto with 5, Arenado 5. DeYoung and Grichuk both with 4 Kubota Power Stats. Walked and scored in the 2nd, infield hit in the 3rd.
Thinking about Grichuk and DeYoung and the home runs that they've had since the break, and they're up among the Cardinal leaders. In fact, DeYoung is tied with everybody else who's at 14, and Grichuk now at 13. I just wonder, would you rather have a team that has 6 guys with 14 home runs, or do you want 2 guys that have 25? I mean, which is better?
Good question.
There's been some good. I've been in some debates about that recently. That the value is that you've got potential up and down the lineup. The 25 guy, though, then you've got some serious damage potentially in the middle of the lineup with guys on. So I'm not sure it's a clear answer.
1-2 the count. You got to tell me who the other guys are around the 25. And a fly ball in the gap in left center, but that'll be caught. Put some cotton candy for your birthday. Here's Marte, the switch hitter. Off speed pitch, strike. Diamondbacks create out of an expansion in 1998, made the postseason 3 of their first 5 years, won the World Series in 2001. Since then, they've made the playoffs twice. They've had only 4 winning seasons. They've had some tough years.
But what you said earlier, I just like the way they're building. They built the offense, and now they're building the starting pitching around it. The bullpen's good, and it's just much more of a complete team. They've been a dangerous team that can go on a roll the past couple of years. You look at them and think, boy, they're close. But starting pitching is so important.
It was Bob Brenly, the manager of that club in 2001. Image forever of him jumping up and down out of the dugout on the Luis Gonzalez base hit to win it over the Yankees.
Always good to be around Bob, isn't it?
Good man.
I still think of him as a San Francisco Giant.
Me too.
I believe I kind of ran into him on one of the many skirmishes on the field, or at least by him.
Do guys still talk about it?
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course. There were a few, so they kind of all run together.
I think Will Clark, one flap down, Jeffrey Leonard,
Yeah.
Oquendo and Ozzie at the second base bag.
Scott Terry started one by hitting Mike Aldrete.
There you go.
Well, he didn't start it. He fueled it.
You know, for being this nice guy that you are, you were in a lot of brawls, man.
Mostly spectating.
Mostly, but not all. Popped up. Was it Montreal, that famous video of you going crazy?
No, that was the Giants.
Lynn is through 5, and it's a 2-2 score. Is brought to you by your local St. Louis area Volkswagen dealers. 2-2 our score. Bottom of the 5th rolls in. Gorgeous day here in St. Louis. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. And Jim Hayes is here as well on what is a Sunday that baseball celebrates the Hall of Famers in the new class of 2017. This has been a grind today. Probably the best way to put it for Lance Lynn, and yet 2-2 our score.
He's still in it. You were worried at one point about the Cardinals bullpen, and there was some action. Tyler Lyons was up early, but Lance Lynn has at least figured out a way to put 3 zeros up on the board since the 2nd inning, and he's still battling. 96 pitches for Lance Lynn through 5 innings, and he was probably on the edge as to whether or not they'd send him out for the 6th.
Walker on the other side with 8 strikeouts, pitch number 83. And that's 9 strikeouts. Greinke had 9 last night. And there's 1 away.
Well, Dan, you're talking about the Hall of Fame, and just did some thinking about 4 guys I think deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And in no particular order, Trevor Hoffman, second year on the ballot, but this guy had 601 career saves. Only Rivera for the Yankees had more. Vladimir Guerrero, an MVP in 04, hit over 313 times. Lee Smith, an outstanding closer, and Fred McGriff has the same numbers almost identically as Willie McCovey. Yet he's a name that we just don't think about very often. And Fred McGriff, a lot of people don't really remember him, but if you had to pitch to him, you'd remember him.
The crime dog. Carpenter breaks his bat, 1 hop that's hit towards right field, and that's the second baseman putting it away, Daniel Descalso.
And like Tim Raines going into the Hall of Fame as a player in Canada most of his career, maybe not getting the attention that others received. I feel the same way about McGriff, playing all the years he did in Toronto. But I think it'd be wonderful if those 4 guys could get in. Of course, there's some shoe-ins down the road. Chipper Jones, Mariano Rivera.
I thought 2 on your list get in, which is Guerrero and Trevor Hoffman. I think those 2 will be in.
I think they will. They've been close in the balloting, but Lee Smith just overlooked 478 career saves
and only 34% of the vote. Here's Harrison Bader, 0 for 2. I still am a firm believer that Ted Simmons should be in the Hall of Fame. Well, you look at his numbers, he should be in.
I got more than 4, but that's where we had to stop at.
Yeah.
We had but so much room. And we talked yesterday about Curt Flood and the impact that he's had on the game. And so you think about impact. Now that opens up in a whole nother box of people that should be in.
Many believe that Flood should be in just by his on the field accomplishments too. Here's a 1-2 and a strikeout of Bader. That's 10 through 5 innings for Walker. We'll receive a coaster set including 4 ceramic Cardinals themed coasters courtesy of Coca-Cola and Schnucks. Get your August 13th tickets at cardinals.com/promotions. So Lynn pitching into the 6th inning. Iannetta, Blanco, and Walker. After the game last night, Yadier Molina was at exactly 14,000 innings caught. Only 13 other catchers have ever reached that mark. And the Hall of Famer Pudge Rodriguez is on that list. If it ended today, is Yadi a Hall of Famer for you?
Yeah, I think he is.
I do too.
I don't think it's going to end today. That's the other part of that. It's almost hard to separate that. But I mean, the 8 Gold Gloves, that's the All-Star teams. I think those 2 things matter. Postseason experience. Put those 3 things together. You may have some players that are on the edge that they'll say, well, he wasn't as good a defensive player, or he didn't play in October. Can't say either of those things about Yadi.
Durability. I was disappointed in this day and age of defensive metrics, and there's a premium put on that. You see that now every day with contracts, that Edmonds was off the ballot after 1 year. Was surprised.
Me too. And add Larry Walker to the list of former Cardinals that are right on that edge.
Colorado will hurt him.
Yeah.
You know, people say, well, the numbers are inflated because of Coors Field. Not his fault. And there's a strikeout for Lynn, and that's number 3. When the Cardinals hit a home run, get a free frozen Coke or a McDouble the next day through the McDonald's app.
And another way of looking at it, Dan, the best 3 players not in the Hall of Fame, if you're going to do a whole nother graphic with a whole nother purpose, the best 3 players not in the Hall of Fame: Shoeless Joe Jackson, Pete Rose, Barry Bonds.
I think Shoeless Joe Jackson, I think his lifetime average was 359.
Add Roger Clemens to that list.
Yep. Here's a 1-0. Grounder that's hit to Carpenter. He'll take it himself, steps on the bag. So the pitch count at 103. Can getting worn down help Lance Lynn in a day like today, where mechanically you could just see he wasn't quite right?
Well, I've never been a fan of the worn down theory, and I understand that. I've heard that before. I've heard that as it relates to sinker ball pitchers mostly, that you get worn down and your ball starts to sink more. I never found that to be true. I found out that I'd rather be strong than weak, because you can actually get a little bit more bite on the sink. But I think what you do get as you get through the game is just a little bit more locked in with your delivery. And
that's
I think
the point I made.
Yeah. But I think in terms of arm strength and body strength, I really don't want to be. You don't want to be weak. You want to be strong.
This is Taijuan Walker at the plate. The 7th time that Walker has been in double digits in strikeouts. He has 10. Second time he's done that this year. Good fastball by Lynn. Career high is 11. He's done that 6 previous times.
This is as hard as Lynn has been throwing. 93 on that last delivery.
And Walker rounds out to Carpenter. Lance Lynn through thick and thin today. Through 6. A 2-2 game. Like during the break, they were giving some consideration to maybe bringing him back out.
Mike Matheny and he had conversation going, but after the conversation was over, we saw the Cardinal pitchers come over to him. But it starts with this. I think Mike wants to find out how he is and how he's feeling. He's over 100 pitches in this game, and a lot of the pitches have been, as we mentioned, under stress and duress because he had runners aboard early, and he labored. He was laboring just to find the plate early on. 5 walks for Lance Lynn, 103 pitches. That's enough, and we believe he is out of the game. No Cardinal warming up as of yet.
Weather is perfect here today at the ballpark. A lot of fans enjoying it. And so are we here at Busch Stadium. Here's DeYoung.
Enjoy it more with about a 4-run inning here.
He has walked and struck out. You getting anything special for your birthday?
Well, I got about 90 tweets after you mentioned that it was my birthday. I guess that's pretty special.
Nothing says a happy birthday like a few tweets.
And getting to sit next to you and talk about Cardinal baseball.
Now you're okay. Now you're trending in the right direction. Here's a 1-2 pitch to Paul DeYoung. The 2-2. DeYoung out to shallow left.
Ooh.
And holding on, Marte. Almost slipped out of the glove.
Players call that a snow cone. Put the cone up and there's the ice cream hanging out at the end. It actually takes a little bit of finger strength to keep a hold of that ball. He was battling the sun a bit. Wasn't hit very hard, and it very nearly popped out.
There's Jed Jerko. There is no standard glove in how a guy likes it. You know, Arenado the other night, who's one of the best in the game, flimsy, very, very flimsy. Some like it a little bit smaller, middle infielders than a third baseman. First baseman's mitt completely different.
I used an outfielder's glove for the most part to pitch with. I wanted as much protection as possible. It was called a Pro BP Rawlings model, and many outfielders used it, and I borrowed a teammates in the minor league, Jim Adduces, and thought, well, you know what, I can just throw this around and go into protect mode. I like it. Interesting that Matt Carpenter does not switch gloves when he goes from second to third and other. He's got the first baseman's glove, but he's still using the same glove he used at both third and second. Normally the second baseman's glove is a little smaller and the third baseman's glove larger.
Tapped foul by Jerko. And the idea behind that, be able to get the ball out of the glove at short or at second base. Ozzie always had the trapeze model.
Right. And there are limits to how big the glove can be. I mean, you want protection, but there's a certain length that it can't be beyond for outfielders and for pitchers.
Did you see the glove that Cespedes was using in New York?
Didn't notice it.
It was enormous. 3-2 did not go. I would imagine if you measured his, it'd be close to what you're talking about.
Was it too long or maybe it was too wide?
Both.
Okay.
It would look like a softball glove. The third walk issued by Taijuan Walker. And here's Yadier Molina. A base hit back in the fourth.
And I love that picture of Cardinal players talking shop. You can't do enough of that. I mean, the learning experience, you learn from what you do, but you also learn from what others do. And we talk a lot about what the coach's responsibility is to help teach the game. Well, you have to teach each other too. When you're between the lines, you have a feel for something, and for Lance Lynn to ask Adam, well, and maybe they're talking about the struggles he had of not being able to get the ball to the glove side of home plate. Well, they've all had that happen to them before, and maybe some tips and some pointers on what that experience was like are a good thing.
Here's a 1-1. Molina, base hit into left. Gyorko to second, on his way to third. The throw, not in time. Runners at the corners and one down here in the bottom of the sixth.
Pitch location, down and in, and such good base running by Jedd Gyorko. Cardinals have improved from last year at going from first to third. You look at the base running metrics, and you're having a conversation, but you're still paying attention and rooting for your teammates.
Lance Lynn is saying, you know what, that run out there, sniffing a win maybe.
Well, he's coming off the 2-0 decisions. As we mentioned, he should have won both of his last 2 outings, but didn't get a lot of run support. Maybe the run support's coming in the 6th inning for him this afternoon.
Don't miss Billy Joel night at the ballpark Wednesday, August 9th. Purchase of a theme ticket. Fans receive a one-of-a-kind Billy Joel bobblehead. Tickets at cardinals.com/theme. Billy Joel coming to concert here to Busch Stadium. Piano Man.
What do the New Yorkers think with Billy Joel wearing a Cardinal hat on that bobblehead?
Good point. He sang Piano Man during the World Series against Kansas City, which is a tradition at Citi Field. They play Piano Man during the 7th inning stretch. One out, runners at first and third. And Martinez, who is homered today, looks at strike one. He's 2 for 2. Jose Martinez this year, by the way, is a pinch hitter, hitting .471 and getting the start today. Walker thinking ground ball. Martinez thinking base hit.
Lance Lynn thinking victory.
Here's a 1-1. With the Cardinals trailing 2-0 back in the 4th, the Nissan drive of the game. Jumped on that pitch, an opposite field home run. He's shown power that way.
Well, his goal definitely is to get the ball into the outfield somehow, some way. That's the goal. You don't want the ground ball. You want to try to elevate.
Fly ball, right field. Martinez makes the catch. Runner tags. Cardinals had the lead. Jose Martinez has driven in all 3.
That's a great at-bat by Jose Martinez. He needs to try to elevate, but he's down in the count. And he does just that. He gets underneath it, drives it the other way, picks up the RBI. Good situational hitting. And maybe Lance Lynn would get a victory here just before the trade deadline.
Well, you got to love that if you're a Cardinal fan. The walk and then going first to third and then driven in. Nissan drive of the game was off the bat of Martinez. This is Chevy called to the pen.
is Jorge De La Rosa. This is game number 43 for the left-hander, former starter, and he'll have Kolten Wong. But the Cardinals have jumped on top 3-2. They've only had 4 hits in this game, but you can say the same thing for the D-backs. Lance Lynn is out. Now Taijuan Walker is out, and Walker with 10 strikeouts here this afternoon. Very impressive.
So Wong at the plate. He's 0 for 2. Fly to center. Also struck out. Runner at first is Yadier Molina. And Wong didn't think he offered at it, but it's a strike. The Cubs a 3-2 lead over Milwaukee. That's in the bottom of the 7th. The lefty's hitting just 170 against De La Rosa. Wong 1 for 9 against him. The Hyundai pitch arsenal. He has not allowed an inherited runner to score this year. That's cleaning it up.
It's an important stat for a reliever, isn't it?
Sure is. Wong off the end of the bat, sinking, and it drops for a base hit. Ball gets away, but Molina staying put at second base.
Nice at bat by Kolten Wong against the lefty. Taking it the other way. Kolten continues to hit this year. Finding holes better. Using all fields.
He snaps an 0 for 14.
Yeah, he dropped a bit lately. He'd been up around that 300 mark.
La Rosa was there to get Kolten Wong, and it looks like Torey Lovullo will go back to his bullpen. With runners at first and second, Grichuk coming up. Chevy. This year, lefties 188, the righties 190. We've seen him in this series, Ricky. He is good.
Yeah, all you need to know is he throws hard. 2 strikeouts in an inning's worth of work. And the guy at the plate that he'll face, Randal Grichuk, can hit the fastball. He's going to see one here. 96, 97, I believe he was hitting here yesterday.
Barrett now with 8 straight scoreless appearances. That's 9 1/3. Grichuk has seen him. He's 0 for 1. Runners at first and second with 2 outs here in the home half of the 6th. Tyler Lyons had been throwing in the Cardinals' pen. The second time he's up today. And the first pitch. Greg Garcia at the on-deck circle. He'd be the pinch hitter for Lynn. And the 1-0.
Well, I guess there's two things you need to know about Barrett. He throws hard and has a good slider too.
Yep.
Watch pitchers after they come out, you often become pretty chatty. You know, you're so locked in. I mean, you're locked in when you wake up in the morning. You're Lance Lynn, and so you're so focused on what you're doing, and then the game's over, and all the stress goes away. Job well done, good day's work. Let's talk about it.
And a chance at a win. The 2-1 pitch. Outside, 3-1. If he gets a fastball here, you'd never know. Grichuk would center it. Might go 500 miles.
Want me to start writing it down? Are you predicting this, or are you just hoping?
Edging towards predicting. In other words, I'm on the fence. A 3-1 pitch. Slider.
Well, you did qualify it with if he got the fastball.
That's right.
You had to have a little out. I understand.
Have to have an out. You got to cover yourself in this business.
I think he's going to get a 3-2 slider.
You threw it at 3-1. Why not 3-2? Three-two pitch. Runners will go. Fastball, and he struck him out. Lynn a chance at a win. 3-2 St. Louis. Baseball, and doing it on the same team. Nick Lovello on the left and Tate Matheny on the right, both of Able, the Salem Red Sox.
Wonder if they're getting along at the moment with their dads competing against each other.
Maybe a little side wager. What do you think? You buy dinner, I buy dinner, whatever.
I'm sure whatever it is, it's in fun because they both obviously very proud of their dads. Grew up in the game, they understand it. And they probably have, I would guess that they would have a bond as teammates that nobody else really understands too.
Agreed. So the lefty Tyler Lyons is in. You know, with the off day tomorrow, even though Rosenthal went 2 innings the other night in impressive fashion, I have to think maybe they could push him potentially if they get that opportunity. A strike to David Peralta, the leadoff man for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's flied to left. He has walked twice. 0-2.
Tyler Lyons becoming the guy that you don't think of when it's an 8-1 game and you need 4 innings out of your bullpen. He's a guy that you're giving more and more close and late situations to.
0-2 pitch. It's an off day tomorrow, and then we head to Milwaukee. The 1-2 taken just a bit high. Road trip through Milwaukee, Cincinnati, and then there's a 4-game series with the Royals, but it's split. 2 in Kansas City and then 2 in St. Louis. The 2-2 pitch popped up. Ball to Young, and he makes the catch. So Lyons gets the first man. What's on tap? The schedule for St. Louis. Cardinals are 21-27 this year on the road. 3 with Milwaukee, 3 with Cincinnati, 2 with Kansas City.
We hope the Royals cool off by August 7th. It's a good team right now.
What will the team look like from the Cardinals' perspective after tomorrow afternoon? Mentioned earlier that Melky Cabrera now a member of the Royals, and that's hit out to right. Grichuk won't get there. Almost got it. And fires it back into the infield. It's a double for Descalso.
Daniel hits a mistake. He's ready to hit it, and Grichuk was so close to catching it.
Remember, we always used to talk about Descalso 7th inning or later. Here we go again.
And we're also talking about the length of outfielders' gloves. Maybe Cespedes' glove, he's out.
Good point. Arms of the Cardinals: Martinez, Bader, and Grichuk. 1-run ball game. You think about that with Jake Lamb at the plate. He's had a lot of opportunities to do damage. Bases loaded, popped out. First and second, flied out, and also a single to left. That's the 35th double for the Diamondbacks in their last 13 games. They have the most in the National League this year. And there's a strike. These two have faced each other one time, and Jake Lamb has hit a home run off of Lyons.
One thing Tyler has the ability to do, if he's on, is go more than 1 inning. And so if he's right, I would think Mike Matheny would be tempted to leave him out there, but he does have some action in the bullpen just in case.
To further the point about Daniel Descalso, he was so good, a money player for the Cardinals in 2011. Close at late situations that season.
Yeah.
356 the average. I mean, think about in those innings who you're facing. Specialists, closers. It was 73 at bats, so pretty big sample size too. He struck him out. Nasty late break on that curveball. Plaza Tire Service, Fox Tracks.
Lyons has a very good breaking ball, and he freezes him. He has a sharp late break to it. And that's going to be his last pitch.
Goldschmidt coming up, and then Martinez, and Matt Bowman coming out of the bullpen for St. Louis. Chevy called to the pen. Bowman coming on when we come back. By the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jim Hayes with us. For Matt Bowman, his 53rd appearance, most in baseball. If you're wondering, Goldschmidt is 0 for 3 against him. JD Martinez on deck is 0 for 2. So 2 outs, runner at second base. Goldschmidt looks at a ball inside. Here's a 1-0. Good changeup, 1 ball and 1 strike. With runners in scoring position coming into this series, he was above 400. Not too shabby, 394. Descalso represents the tying run. Fastball, 1-2. Now time is called. The 1-2. This might be your game right here. 2 balls and 2 strikes. What a rip.
It was a good swing at a pretty good pitch, too. It was in on his hands. And that's what Bowman has to be thinking here. You can't make a mistake to this guy because you know it'll happen. But he is well protected with J.D. Martinez on deck. Doesn't get much easier if you walk Goldschmidt.
The 2-2. Now time is called. 3-2 the count. He's 0 for 3 today. The 3-2 pitch. Out of play.
Bowman may have gotten away with a pitch there. That one hung a bit up in the strike zone. May have been up too much.
That was Mike Laga-esque for Goldschmidt. He almost hit it out of the ballpark. Can he put him away? Descalso at second. 2 outs. 3-2 by Bowman. Ground ball, left side. Jerko makes the play. Let's stretch on this Sunday afternoon. Gateway Honda dealers donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Missouri. And Greg Garcia will pinch hit. So Bowman was in to get one man. That was Goldschmidt. Sunwon Oh is getting loose in the pen for St. Louis. And after the announcement for sure that Garcia was going to hit, he was announced. Torey Lovullo going to his bullpen for a lefty. Zerchevy called to the pen. 3-2 our score. So after the announcement of Garcia, Torey Lovullo went to his bullpen to get the lefty. Lefty comes in. Mike Matheny pulls back Garcia, and will pinch hit with Tommy Pham.
Wheels are turning. And we're just in the 7th inning. More moves to come in a tight ball game.
So left on the bench for the Cardinals would be Carson Kelly and Luke Voigt. In a 1-run game late. Always of concern. And the first pitch to Tommy Pham. He's taken for a ball.
And you don't have Adam Wainwright available to be that pinch hitter either.
He's on the DL. Pham breaks his bat, and a grounder that's hit to Descalso. First out here in the home half of the 7th. That is a shattered bat.
Yeah, you just don't want to be in the path of 70% of that bat that's flying past you on the mound.
Those are the maple bats.
Right.
And those are the ones that wind up sometimes sticking in the ground and very dangerous.
I know baseball's done a lot of studies on it, trying to make that less of an issue and working with the bat manufacturers. I think it's still a potential problem, not just for players, but for fans. There are times where the broken bat goes sideways on a swing and heads towards the area just by the dugouts.
There's Carpenter. Lefty's only hitting 181 against Chafin. You know, we talk so much about the baseball being wound tight, the seams lower. Well, what about the bats? We don't talk enough about the hardness of a bat. If you pick up a bat now, I mean, it's different than it was even 10 years ago.
I think that's true.
Carpenter walked back in the 3rd, struck out, and also grounded out. And I knew you would agree with me because you're a pitcher.
Yeah, I would love to see, even go back further and just say, you know, just have a guy swing a bat that Babe Ruth swung. What that would be like.
I gave the dimensions and the length and weight of Willie Stargell's bat, which was something like 36 or 37 ounces that he used daily. Typically, players now, it's around 32 ounces.
Right. And there
34,
were
32.
There were players that used 40-ounce bats.
Sure.
I believe Dick Allen did. By the way, another guy that's a former Cardinal and on the edge of being a Hall of Famer.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Talk about power. Woo. A shift on here for Carpenter now on the left side. They back up with 2 strikes. We mentioned the Diamondbacks and the record last year and how much they struggled. 69 and 93. They have turned this around quickly. Some very good moves. The 3-2 is pulled fair inside the first base line. And Carpenter, his 3rd double in the last 2 games. Good at bat against a tough lefty.
Boy, you wouldn't think there'd be any room to the left of Goldschmidt. He was hugging the line anyway. He's playing pretty much a Carpenter to pull, and he still gets it inside the bag. He hit that ball hard enough with some little bit of hook to it. And an insurance run would be wonderful.
Harrison Bader 0 for 3 today. Ground out to short, fly to left, and struck out. The way that they have positioned here defensively, Bader drops down a bunt. He might beat it out to the right side. Look how far Goldschmidt is off the line at first base.
We've seen him do it. Push bunt. If you bunt it to Goldschmidt, you just have to beat the pitcher to the bag.
Exactly.
And the throw is a hard throw to make from that angle.
Tuesday on Toyota Cardinals Live, we head down on the farm, take an in-depth look. Talent brewing in the minor leagues. This week, the features on Harrison Bader, who's now up. Met up with him in Memphis right before his call up to the major leagues. And that is Toyota Cardinals Live on Tuesday at 6. 1 ball, 1 strike. Really have enjoyed those. We put those together, and all of a sudden these kids are coming up. Cardinals promoting and promoting and promoting. Bader looking for his first major league hit with a runner in scoring position. He's 0 for 3. Ooh, that was a good cut.
And that's a reason for him not to bunt here. You want him to do some damage. And yes, you could maybe get a hit that way, and get the runner to third, but you've got 2 shots at driving in Matt Carpenter, and you'd like to take your chances with Bader and DeYoung both swinging it.
Big gap in left center. And the 1-2 pitch. Remember when lefties, no disrespect to you, Rick, they were guys that came in and threw slider after slider, curveball, and had a fastball about 85.
Right, changeups.
Again, no disrespect to you.
None taken, some felt.
I mean, these guys are throwing smoke. 2-2. And a swing and a miss. Ball gets away. Bader strikes out for the second time.
We talked about him having to adjust to hit the curveball. He's going to get a steady diet of those until he starts hitting them on the barrel. And he chased that one. Strong curveball. I mean, you had some hard throwing left-handers even back in the day. You think about some of the game's great pitchers. Sandy Koufax got it up there in a hurry. He wasn't flipping changeups. But you especially think about bullpen guys that would just be, sinker slider types.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Here's DeYoung with 2 outs. Runner at second is Carpenter. Diamondbacks saw 41-year-old Randy Johnson throw a perfect game. He is at the Hall of Fame this weekend in Cooperstown with the Diamondbacks' Tony La Russa. Tony's title is now the chief baseball analyst. So he managed the Cardinals from 1996 through 2011.
So do we call him chief?
Chief. I don't think he's chief, though, from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
No.
I mean, do you call Mo Prez?
No, I don't.
Just call him Mo.
Just call it Mo, right?
Here's a 1-1 pitch. In the dirt, 2 balls and 1 strike. Three and 1. Jerko on deck. No activity in the Diamondbacks bullpen. Three and 2. Inside.
Just how far inside? A 64th of an inch. That could have gone the Diamondbacks' way. It's close enough.
And here's Jed Jerko. Two runners on, and now a meeting on the mound. How come other sports the coaches don't wear uniforms? Hey, you got Pat Riley over on the sidelines of the Lakers in a tank top. Football coach, you know, not shoulder pads and a helmet. Why not?
It could be interesting. I wonder why that is. That is interesting, Dan. Of course, you think of the early baseball, you think of Connie Mack.
And there have been player managers over the years.
Yes, but Connie Mack, he wore a suit.
Yes, he did.
As a baseball manager. And he won a lot of games. And you can win a lot of games when you own the team.
Yes, you can. Not a lot of pressure or worrying about getting fired.
No.
For some, it frustrates the real purist in baseball when you see certain managers wearing the sweatshirts and not the uniform top. Want to know the count on Jed Jerko, and time is called, and they just met 1 pitch ago. I think these are the types of things that the commissioner's looking to clean up. Agreed?
Well, I don't know if the commissioner is, but you and I are, and Tim and Al, and none of us have a voice, of course, or a vote.
The 1-0 pitch to Jed Jerko.
It's okay, Dan.
I don't mind the meetings, I really don't, but when you just had a meeting 1 pitch before.
Well, I just don't know if the issue is of retention, or in that case I thought maybe there was an indication that there was maybe some signs being given because they brought the second baseman in too. So they were going to change the signs.
And the 2-0 is a fly ball. Hit out to center. Gregor Blanco makes the catch. Cardinals strand a couple. We head to the 8th. St. Louis on top. born player to reach 3,000 hits as well. Tommy Pham stays in the game in center. Seung-Hwan Oh is now your pitcher. 45th appearance this year. Appropriate too that Beltre gets 3,000 on Hall of Fame Sunday and Hall of Fame weekend, which all but assures he's headed to Cooperstown.
Yeah, that's the magic hit. You get 3,000. You're going to the Hall of Fame, so congratulations to Beltre. Been an understated player in a lot of ways. You wouldn't put him in the small group of superstar players in baseball, but maybe we should have over the years. But he's been durable. He's played a long time.
Here's JD Martinez to lead it off. And the first pitch taken high. Not a lot has come easy for Seung-Hwan Oh here recently.
He's important to the fortunes for the Cardinals going forward. So is Kevin Segrist. So is Trevor Rosenthal. Those three. You want production from everybody else. They're important too, but those three guys need to be who we've seen him to be in the past.
That's hit out of play. I think of Beltre. I think about him with such an aggressive swing, but finishing on one knee.
Right.
He's had some odd swings and a fun player. No one can touch the top of his helmet, pat him on the head. He goes crazy when you do that. Good defensive player over the years too.
And all you got to do is tell a teammate that you don't like it, and that's probably going to happen quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
Kind of how that works.
One and two the count. Big strikeout.
Pitch explodes on Martinez up in the zone, and O can get some chases up. Not many pitchers can pitch up at 92, 93, but O has some hop to those, and a good start for him.
The switch hitting Marte. He doubled to right center and scored. Go back to that second inning where things really could have unraveled for Lance Lynn. He had walked 4 in the inning, walked a total of 5 today, but 4 in that inning alone. And Arizona picked up 2 runs on just 1 hit. Could have been much worse. And the 1-1 pitch. The sweep of the Rockies. Cardinals trying to earn a split here today against Arizona.
This game reminding me a little bit of the game on Friday. Close game. A lot of key moments late. Important decisions made by both managers on how to use their bullpen. And the Cardinals came out on top in that particular game.
The 2-2. Ripped foul. They carry 3 catchers, and you just wonder if, with O on the mound, would Torey Lovullo think about going to a left-handed bat? It's where the damage has been done this year against O. Something to think about. 8 home runs he's allowed, 7 have been to lefties.
I think that's something you have to think about a couple of times.
The 2-2 pitch. Ground ball. Diving stop. Race to the bag. Out number 2.
Nice job all the way around. First, it's Matt Carpenter on the backhand, laying out. Then a solid throw about chest high, and O beats the speedy Marte to the bag. Short, choppy steps at the end. That's how you do it. If you have long strides there, Dan, you either overrun the base or misstep. You have to slow down and make choppy steps those last few before the bag, and O did it perfectly.
Here's Iannetta. RBI with a sac fly back in inning number 2. Has struck out twice. He has 8 home runs this year. We mentioned earlier 19 of his last 23 hits have gone for extra bases. Here's the 0-1. 0-2. Here's the 0-2. Fouled back.
We talked about the infield stability that is developed over 90 games. Took maybe 90, 95 games for that to happen for the Cardinals. We're still looking for that bullpen stability.
Are you one that believes that you should have a bullpen role? I mean, some guys say it doesn't really matter. Just be ready to pitch.
I think if I'm that guy, I say pitching is pitching. Just I don't need a role.
Yeah.
My role is to get people out. That is true. But I think for the flow of the game, it's better if you have an idea of when that might be. But as Brett Cecil said in the paper last week, and I thought he said it well, he said we don't have defined roles because we haven't earned them.
2-2. Doesn't chase. And the 3-2 pitch. Instead, time is called. The 3-2 pulled foul. Torey Lovullo and the Diamondbacks trying to hold on in the wild card. Cardinals trying to stay in that chase. And also the chase of the Central. The 3-2 pitch. He struck him out. Good work by O. A scoreless 8th. you by Bud Light, famous among friends. And by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. Beautiful day here at the ballpark. Temperatures have been perfect here for late July in St. Louis. And Bradley is into the ball game. This is Archie Bradley. Our Chevy called to the pen. Second appearance in this series. Going to be Molina, Martinez, and Wong. Bradley a 1.53 ERA. Trevor Rosenthal grabs a baseball and starts to throw. Fly ball into right. Sinking, and the catch is made. StubHub, your ticket out to once-in-a-lifetime experiences. Cardinal games to amazing concerts. To shows you just don't want to miss. StubHub connects you with the world of live. StubHub, it's your ticket out. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Cardinals. Rosenthal recorded the first 6-out save of his career. That was Friday night. It's been a big day for Jose Martinez.
He's been the whole offense, hasn't he?
2-run homer and a sac fly and RBI.
And a base hit to go along with it.
Little grounder that's foul. Outside corner, struck him out. Missouri Lottery Fox Tracks.
Pitch was outside, but Martinez rung up too close to take, probably, with 2 strikes.
Mentioned that Archie Bradley was another Diamondback that had a ball that ricocheted and came back and hit him in the face. That pitch right there, as you know, Ricky, outside to a hitter. They'll take that back up the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Just wonder how gun shy you get if you're a pitcher.
On cue.
Bradley makes the play. Rosenthal coming in when we come back. For the 0-2. Got him. The 2-2. Struck him out. The 2-2 ends it with a strikeout. Say thanks to everybody.
Oh, thanks. I'm going to say thanks to Sarah. That was very nice of her.
What about Al?
Al didn't say happy birthday, but he probably meant it, didn't he?
Well, she said from all of us.
Okay. Well, thanks, Al. Appreciate it.
Sometimes you're just so selfish.
Sometimes. Looking forward to watching Trevor Rosenthal pitch again. He was so good, as we saw the last time out. 2 solid innings. And he gets a fresh inning here. He doesn't come in with a couple runners aboard, but like to see him attack the strike zone as he did 2 days ago.
Here's Gregor Blanco. As Al mentioned, the Cardinals 13-12 heading into the final day, July, and a win gives him their first winning month of the year. It's hard to believe. A loss would mean their third 500 month out of the 4 played. And the last time this team failed to finish above 500 in each of the first 4 months was 1978. Ooh, doesn't get the call there. 1 ball and 1 strike. Blanco, couple of strikeouts, 0 for 5 against Trevor Rosenthal.
I feel like the Cardinals are climbing a mountain and they're getting up a little bit and then they're falling back a couple pegs and then they're going back up again. But they're still working at it.
Here's a 1-2. And it's hit out of play. Rick will be busy after the game. The Christian Day at the ballpark. He'll be the MC. Lance Berkman, the featured speaker.
We'll hear from some Cardinal players as well. Tradition's been going on for 27 years here at the ballpark. We've had some wonderful speakers over the years. And today is no exception.
Two and 2. Plaza Tire Service Fox Tracks just missed. The 2-2 got him. Change up at 88 and a strikeout to start this 9th inning.
Trevor has a swing and miss changeup when he's right. He sold it well. Manager's reaction. Mike's been doing that a lot today. Been happy with what he's seen from the pitching, even though Lance Lynn was a little wobbly for a bit. Found a way to put up zeros.
Fastball and strike 1. A.J. Pollock off the bench. Such a key the other night and again today. Strike 1.
We also saw a very good slider from Trevor Rosenthal. And here it comes.
The 0-1. 0-2. Been sharp.
Got so many ways to strike you out. Fastball away, fastball in on the hand, slider away, changeup.
Here's the 0-2. Got him. Back-to-back strikeouts. Pollock has just been ejected.
Is it a strike? It was a perfect pitch from Rosenthal. Whether it's a strike or not, it was outstanding. Right on that corner or just off. And Lovello's just right now defending his player.
Also maybe disrupting a little rhythm that Rosenthal is in. Gamesmanship. Budweiser player of the game, Jose Martinez, drives in 3. 2-run homer. The Cubs beat the Brewers 4-2. Lackey picked up the win. He's 8-9. Here's Peralta. That's strike 1.
Was Jose just acknowledging that you named him the Budweiser Player of the Game? He raised his hand like to say thank you, didn't he?
Sometimes they can't see the TVs here at the ballpark. And I'm serious about that. Here's the 0-1. 0-2. And a strike away from earning a split. The 0-2 strikes out the side. 99 on the gun. Rosenthal sharp. Cardinals earned the split. 3-2 the final here this afternoon.
A nice win for the Cardinals. An outstanding finish for Trevor Rosenthal. Lance Lynn gets the win, and maybe, just maybe, the Cardinals bullpen picture is getting clearer.
Off to the post-game show. What a job by Rosenthal. Martinez drives in 3 with a 2-run homer along the way. Some fun here at the ballpark. Homestand comes to a close. Homestand in which they win 5. 3-2 the final.